Hello, welcome everyone in this new live development video about building an auto battle game. In this video, we're going to create the required asset to build our stat system. But first, let's just rename that folder GameSystem into just system because I want that, and I felt like the name was too long compared to the rest of the folders. We're just gonna check if we created redirectors. Apparently, we did, so we're gonna fix them up. If you don't have that filter, you can find it here. And now we want to create a new folder called stat. In here, so I've created a Google Doc just so I can keep track of the hierarchy we want. So we're gonna have a folder called stats like this, in which we're gonna have another folder called data. And we're gonna have a blueprint component. We can create it this way: new blueprint class, actor component, BPC blueprint component, stat manager. That's what we want. Have we already created something like this? No, yeah, we haven't. That's what I thought. So we have this, and now what do we want? We want the enumerator of the list of stats, the structure of the stats. So we want a new enumerator, stat. We want 2 structure, 3 structure. So I'm guessing we're gonna need that. So the structure stat is composed of a stat, enum, current value, max value, and modifier. So we're gonna have a new structure, f stats. We're gonna open that up. We want our new enumerator stats. Then this is gonna be a float and another float. And yeah, in here we want a list of modifier, but we haven't created the modifier, so we need to create them. F stat modifier. And we're gonna need a numerator that is not written here, which is modifier type. Let's open that up, and we're gonna have something that adds a flat value to a stat, and another thing which is gonna add a percent value to the stat. And we want that modifier, stat modifier. Yep. So in here we want a value. We're going to modify the stat by value, and we want a modifier type. Amount and modifier type. So we're going to modify the target stat by 0, in a flat by 1, or by 1%, how we wish. For instance, if we put 1 here. And we want an array of modifiers. So yeah, that enum has no entry, and it doesn't like that. So we're going to add a bunch of entry. Actually, we're going to add all the entry we have here. So we're going to have else, mana, damage, armor, magic resist, speed, speed, cooldown, range, and power. Cooldown, range, and power. And I forgot move speed or attack speed the way we want, because I just added speed. So we get attack speed and we get movement speed. Move speed, we'll call that. Let's save that out. So the stat modifier, we don't care about this anymore. The stat is going to modify else by default. So stat current value, blue A, you got that. Max value. I want them to be reversed. Yeah, I want the max value first. And we want to call that modifiers. So we're gonna have a bunch of modifiers we can. We'll see if we need something else here. I've done the tech design, but there are a lot of things that we'll need to check out on the fly. So we have stats. We have a stat modifier. We have a bunch of stats. We have our modifier type. We have our stat manager. Yeah, we want the stat display. This is going to be a way to store how we should be displaying stats, each specific stat when we need them. F stat display. So this is gonna take a stat. Two text because we want the name and the description. We want an icon. An icon, I think, is a texture 2D. And I think we might want something else. Maybe we want something like color, for instance. I haven't thought about that. We're just gonna add that because we can. Linear color. And we're gonna say that they're like orange by default. I don't like that orange, but I don't care. And we're gonna have a data table out of that. We want fstat display. Oh, why do we have two? That sounds like a bug, I think. DT, like the data table stats. And in here, if we want to display stats and always use the same name, color, icon, we're gonna have to create each an entry for each stat we have. We're not gonna do this in that video. We're just gonna do one, and we'll say that we'll be doing the other offline. I will be doing the other offline. Increases the maximum health the unit has, for instance. So we're gonna have an icon, I guess. So we're gonna have icon for each stats, and we're going to name that health. And it's gonna be green, for instance. And we're gonna have an entry for each. You can press delete, you can duplicate that, you can insert new above and below, you can do many things here which we couldn't before, so that's quite handy. And that's pretty much what we want to do. One last thing we could be doing is I think this is gonna have our list of stats, which is going to be a map of stats. And we're gonna have fstat here. So this is going to be our map of stats. This component, which each actor is gonna have, each actor with stats is gonna have, is going to have a bunch of stats like this. Oh, we might not need to add the stat in the stats structure itself because we're storing that this way. We don't want that. We want that. If we delete this, we don't know what stat it is. Yeah, that's actually, I think we'll need to have that, and we'll build that. We'll build that on the fly, so we won't need to care about the fact that we have to double feed that by hand here. So yeah, it didn't like what happened. So the game really, the engine really don't like when we change structure, especially structure, nested structure, which exactly what we are doing here, structure within structures. But anyway, the stat manager is going to handle stat this way, and it's going to have some kind of function which reads that information, give it back to us, and we'll be able to do stuff based on that. So yeah, that's pretty much wrapping up that video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.